Welcome to Music Guru, where rock and metal never die and every classic note still matters. Okay, take a deep breath, here we go. Today's video is called Why I Don't Like Jimi Hendrix. Yep, I said it, and I already know some of you are hovering over that unsubscribe button. But hang on, let me explain. The truth is, I'm a massive Hendrix fan. I've studied his playing, I've worn out the grooves on Are You Experienced, I've argued passionately that he changed the entire vocabulary of rock guitar, and in fact, my very first video on this channel was who was the weakest link in the Jimi Hendrix experience, and you can bet that I didn't pick Jimi Hendrix. So why this title? Because lately I realized something strange. Even though I love Jimi Hendrix, I almost never listened to him. And that got me to thinking, why? So I made a list of possible reasons why, and I decided to share it with you, not to tear Hendrix down, but to open up a conversation about how our musical heroes can sometimes become too big to even hear. So reason number one is I've heard the good songs way too many times. I've heard Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, All Along the Watchtower, Machine Gun a million times, and while they are all masterpieces, eventually they become a blur. They become almost like looking at your own hand or looking at your own backyard. It doesn't really surprise you anymore, even though place you like to be, there's something missing just because you've seen it or heard it so many times. Reason two, the live stuff is often way too long. So I like long jams. I like the Grateful Dead. I love it when Jimi takes off and goes into the stratosphere. But some of the live cuts feel like they're searching for something they never actually find, and I end up admiring the playing more than actually enjoying. So reason number three is, and this one might rub a few people the wrong way, but I feel like some of the mixes and the production on albums, even huge masterpiece iconic albums like Electric Ladyland, are a bit rough. And when I've looked at documentaries showing the recording processes for the various Hendrix LPs, they were not recorded under the best circumstances, and that's putting it lightly. They were recorded under exceedingly diverse and inopportune, let's put it that way. And I think that, given the chance to get into a studio and be in there for a couple of years like some bands do, Hendrix would have made one of the greatest masterpieces in history. But the production, even though Eddie Kramer and Hendrix came up with a lot of good stuff, to me sometimes is a little bit rough. So reason number four would be that Hendrix is just sometimes way too overwhelming, musically and emotionally. I am one of those people who pays a lot of attention to Hendrix's lyrics, and sometimes to me it seems like his lyrics are a bit too much to handle. I mean, he sings with such fragility and his playing is with such conviction. That dramatic contrast can be a lot to take. Even though Hendrix does have a chill out factor to some of his playing, for the most part, when I listen to him, I feel like I'm being challenged, and sometimes I'm just not in the mood to be challenged. So what about you? Do you listen to Hendrix regularly, or do you think some of the points I make have validity? And are there other bands or rock gods that you respect but don't listen to all that often? For me, Hendrix is probably the number one example of a band that I deeply admire, don't often listen to. And weirdly, I thought of another one yesterday, which is Typo Negative. I love that band. I love, Peter Steele's vision of the band. I love the band itself. They're a good live band. They got a lot of good material, but I don't find myself listening to them very often. And my first thought was, well, a lot of their songs are really long, but I'm not the type of person to dislike long songs. Like I said, I listen to the Grateful Dead sometimes. I like Rush, and I like old Metallica, and my favorite Metallica album, in fact, is And Justice for All, and some of the songs on there get going pretty dang long. So it's not that the songs are too long. I'm not sure what it might be with Typo. Maybe I'll do a video on that sometime. Anyway, this is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.
Music Guru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.